Hey, everybody. Did you know this podcast is brought to you by Audible? Because it's true. Would you maybe perhaps like a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial for yourself? Would you also maybe perhaps like to support the podcast? I would definitely appreciate it. But if you're also into that idea, you can get that goodness at audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. I listen to audiobooks every day now. Side note, I've got some Apple AirPods showing up in the mail tomorrow that I'm definitely way too excited for. But if you know me in a real way, you know that I've got one earbud in on the regular. I should really say on the constant, because it's true. But I'm actually currently listening to Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. 2 words, everyone. Female, sexuality. Women, this book has the potential to make you feel more accepting, connected, and understanding of your own sexuality in context. And men, don't you want to have a better grasp of what women are thinking and how we work? Then you have to check this book out. I mean, it's got me all up in my thoughts, you know? It's got me all up in there. I highly suggest it. But no matter what you want to listen to, you can grab it for free by going to audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. Use it or share it with somebody that you know needs a new book. Now, a couple days ago, I reached out and asked if you guys had questions about dating and relationships that you'd like to ask some single women, and I got some great questions in response. Honestly, thanks very much for reaching out and letting me know what you guys want to hear. So for this podcast, I mean, sometimes when you're talking to somebody, it's just so clear that you're traveling on the same wavelength. There's just an awesome flow to it, and you can tell during this time that we had really tapped into an honest place. There are 2 separate jinx moments where we say the same thing at the same time, and it's just how you know that this chat is legit. You heard me talk to this lady on episode 13, and it was hilarious. So make sure to check that one out if you enjoy this one. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with my friend, Jenna Lee Golden.
Should we start this? What are we doing?
We are started.
I just talked for 20 minutes about my favorite meal I've ever had.
I know, you're hilarious.
It's not that funny.
You're hilarious. You know what's weird? This is like the most I've seen you in the past.
Forever, since I've been home. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, but even when you freaking lived here, I didn't see you back-to-back days.
Kind of into it.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today? What's the situation?
We're going to talk about the fact that...
You sounded a little defensive there. We're going to talk about...
I'm not. And we're going to talk about the questions that guys sent in to me.
Do you want them all from guys?
They're all from guys.
That makes me so happy. I want to throw up.
What did you think they were going to be from?
Guys and girls. I did not see all guys coming.
Women don't respond to me very often. I'll be honest with you.
That's
just simply a fact. They
truthful
and they don't.
You're right.
Yeah, they don't. And it hurts my feelings a little bit, but that's okay.
That's probably why you're like all into the nerdy guy hobbies.
But I've liked that stuff since I was 5. I think it's because I was an only child and I just spent so much time on my own. They gave me a video game system and I just got really into it from when I was a kid. And I loved like following instructions and completing tasks.
That sounds so much like you're such an open book.
I am.
Those are all those things that I totally know about you, but I wouldn't go off like telling people about them. I love that you're just like, yeah, this is how I am. I'm like, man, how do I talk about how I am? I'm
just
a person.
You know what it is? It's like I've just kind of become more aware of myself. I can put it into clear sentences now because I've asked myself these questions and given myself answers. So now when people ask me, like, why do I do something or why do I like this or whatever, I've probably already asked myself the question. And then I'm just like, what's the harm in me telling you so that you understand me?
Damn.
I want the people around me to be able to understand.
Talk about the honest company.
Yeah. It's good.
That's great, man.
How are you supposed to get close to
We've
people?
We've had such good conversation in the last 24 hours. I'm like really getting some great like life guidance.
I know. I was scaring you last night though.
Yeah, you really
with the technology talk.
Oh, dear God, that was way too much for me. Good thing I'm not feeling the way I am tonight. Too much for my delicate little heart.
I'm scared of the future.
I am totally scared of the future, and I think that is perfectly normal.
I was trying to be so cautious, even when trying to introduce you to the technology. You were pretty not
cautious.
Dude, I was so cautious. That was giving you very basic concepts.
That was like you tiptoeing.
So we have to explain what I was there doing.
Oh my God, I forgot we were supposed to be talking to people.
There's people listening.
Hopefully. Whoa, Jinx, you owe me another glass of wine.
You're so
stupid.
ridiculous.
Savvy.
All right, Jack Sparrow. So anyway, I was at Jenna's house last night to help her start her podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I was there for support and to help her figure out
Support, you're like my Yoda.
how to use GarageBand and just start to get comfortable because you should have a podcast.
Thanks. But you guys should listen when
Yes,
it
of
does come
course.
out.
Of course. So anyway, I was there to help her. So I was showing her the basic kind of just here is how you open up GarageBand. Here is how you start recording. Those kinds of things. And then if I went off on anything that was like a little too much, she just shut me down so quick.
Listen, I just understand my capacity for knowledge and I really needed the basics.
I just threw one word out there and she's like, nope. One word that like you hadn't heard before. Nope.
Like splitter.
Oh yeah, you're talking about an audio splitter. And you're like, nope. How do I record? How do I stop it?
Don't give me more than I need. I know what I can handle. Talk about being an open book and being honest here. I know what I'm capable of.
It's good. Anyway, let's get into these questions. The people that sent me. So now we have 7 because I just got one while we were talking.
Are they all similar, like content based?
They'll flow with each other. They're all about dating and relationships.
Yes, Queen. That's okay. So I was hoping
That's what
we
you
were gonna
asked,
talk
yeah?
about. Yeah.
So it was Jenna's idea that I actually shoot that out there today.
Right, because last time
Awesome.
we hung out on your podcast, I told you about the best worst date I've ever been on.
Yes.
And that's how this came to be.
And it was the best worst date I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of not great dates, but
This one was really
it
out
really
there.
topped it.
Yeah.
It really topped it.
If we've piqued your curiosity and you haven't already listened to that other episode, you should give it a
Go
whirl.
listen to that episode because
you
it's
know what?
hilarious.
It was really entertaining.
It was. It was great. Okay, so let's start off with the first one.
Who's it from? Is it anonymous?
I usually don't share only because I haven't asked them. I didn't
Okay.
ask them if they wanted me to say who it was. I probably should do that. Be like, do you want me to say who you are?
Yeah.
Next time, guys. Next time.
Yeah, so if you're listening and your question got on here, we acknowledge it and we thank you.
Yes,
and in
hello,
the future,
I see you, and
yes,
thank you.
You
I
was
see you.
kind, you was smart, and you was important.
And
The
I know-
Help was one of my favorite movies.
I know who you is. How would you want a guy to approach you to show you that they're interested?
Damn. First
Yeah.
of all, that's a
getting your-
hard ball.
Brain going.
Yes. Wait,
Do
do
you
I
want
answer first or do you answer first?
However, we're conversational.
Okay, I'll start.
Please.
I really appreciate that he got right to the point, and
They're
no
actually,
offense.
they send me really good questions, and I super appreciate that.
No, I really
I
appreciate
appreciate
that
it still.
because it feels like you really cut out a lot of the BS. That's like I'm really glad somebody's asking that question because I think you should know the answer. And I bet you anything, the reason that this person is answering that question is because they've gotten to a point, probably more than once, where they feel like no matter what they do is wrong, in the sense where either you don't treat a girl special enough or make her feel like a princess enough and she doesn't feel like she has your attention, or it's the opposite where it's too much and it's like, it's too much for somebody. And at the end of the day, the only reason that causes both of those things is when one of you just likes each other more than the other. That's really all that it is. When you act nonchalant and she is not sure if you even like her and blah, 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 it means that she likes you a little bit more than you like her. You know what I mean? And then on the flip side of it, when you really like a girl and you bust out the big guns and then every once in a while you get shut down because she's like, no, it's just too much. It's just too much. And you're like, what the hell? I can't win. That's honestly probably just because you like her more than she likes you.
And isn't that what dating is until we finally find the last partner we're going to have?
Right, well,
right? It's a series of people
Yes.
running into people where the liking is uneven. Most of the time, that's what it is. Even in relationships, sometimes.
But the best
there's
part
one
is
that
nobody
likes-
wants to admit that. That's the real hard part is everybody always seems to think, when we get defensive and we just want our friend that's a girl to agree with us and say like, he's a fucking asshole, right? That's what they say. He's an asshole. Don't worry about it. He's an asshole. I can't believe he did that. And then you remember him in your brain as this guy who totally effed you over, who acted like a jerk or whatever, right? And in your brain, you just think, well, he's just a bad guy. He's probably not. You guys probably just weren't on the same page. And it don't get me wrong. There's like bad behavior and there's good behavior and there's some that's better than others and in the middle and in between. But in the very same sentence, most of the time, if you have a problem with somebody, it's probably because you guys just are on different levels when it comes to liking each other.
But that is the most beautiful thing that you can do for yourself in this whole dating, this relationship thing, is to not take everything so personally.
Yes.
Sometimes it's, it's a little bit personal if just things don't work. If you're saying that simply is not the person for you.
Right.
You guys simply do not work for whatever reason.
It's
But
so
not in
honest
that
and pure, and it would be delightful, though.
It doesn't have to be that one person is awful and terrible unless they've done something really genuinely to to deserve those types of things, of course. But for the most part, it's just a bunch of people who just aren't right for each other.
Yeah.
And then you will heal better from that relationship by being able to not take it as personally and be like, that simply was not right.
Because every person's not your person until you find your person.
Exactly.
And that's all there's to it.
Sometimes we bring out bad pieces of each other.
Totally. That's a good
Maybe
point.
we're good people that just brought out weird pieces of each other.
So anonymous question number 1 to actually answer your question, because we got off track there. The real answer is, how would you like a girl to approach you?
How would you want a guy to approach you to show that they're interested?
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you for.
So how do you want a man to approach you?
And whoever the asker is here, it's better not be specific to Courtney or I'm going to punch you in the face. But if you're just wondering in general, listen, let's put it this way. Be a nice guy. Go the extra mile. Try to show your care. Try to remember all those times that people say, back in the 1950s, I used to have to pick up my phone and call somebody if I wanted to ask them out. And then you actually had to meet face to face and there weren't texting and blah, blah, blah. As annoying as it is, however many times you've heard it, listen to it. Because it means something. And when a guy takes that extra step to call you instead of texting you, to make a reservation at a restaurant, because nobody does shit like that anymore.
No, it's impressive.
To actually tell you that they like you and they're really having a good time getting to know you, even when you guys think
That's
that
huge.
maybe you're not there yet.
Dude, if a man shares something like that, like when you're hanging out too, and they go, "Hey, I'm really having a good time."
Yeah.
That's really rare for a guy to say. Guys don't usually verbalize things that way.
If I was on a first date, there'd probably be nothing that would make me feel more secure and excited if a guy was like, "Hey, this seems to be going really well. I'm really enjoying myself."
Yeah. You're already touching on another one of the questions too. So
oh, really? That's funny. Well, anyway, to wrap it up, please, if you're wondering how a guy would want a girl how a guy or how a girl? A girl would want a guy
to approach them.
Yes. Go the extra mile. As cheesy as it sounds. And here's the worst case scenario. Ready? Worst case scenario. She goes to all of her friends and is like, "Oh my God, it was way too much. Da, da, da. I would much rather be known as that person than the guy who came off like a douchebag or an asshole." Right? Mm-hmm. If the worst thing I have to say about my friend, about somebody is that it was too much or I didn't like it, all that means is that person's not secure enough, or you guys are just on two different pages of if you like each other. But how will you know until you ask?
You might as well know. And there's still little things that you can pick up on. I feel like sometimes you can tell when somebody's got some sort of interest in you if you're paying attention.
Yes.
There's a body language thing. There's a flirtation that happens. Do you guys joke around and you're kind of, like there's an energy. And I think sometimes we forget that that's how we naturally react with each other. That
you forget that the other person might be experiencing the same thing on the other side.
Yeah, but we don't know anymore because we don't communicate. We don't communicate. We don't ask those things. Guys are very, and I understand, it's if they're expected to be more of the initiators, like that could be a little bit stressful and they don't want to be rejected and everything like that. So they have to look for the signs first. But then if you come off confident and you're just very clear, that at least for a decent woman who can appreciate those types of things.
The type of person you should be dealing with.
Then that is going to make a large impression.
Yes.
And maybe just people are just too scared.
They are too scared.
Don't take it so seriously. Be like, "Hey, I'd like to hang out with you, blah, blah, blah."
And don't be the person who's afraid of what the worst case scenario is. Be the person who loves unforgivingly, or be the person who says what they mean, or be the person who goes that extra mile not wondering what they look like. Do it because there's nothing bad to say about that person when you actually grow up or later. There just isn't. And I got into this like full-blown conversation with my neighbor the other day where she identified something so quickly in me that I was never ever able to think about or verbalize myself in years. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "You have to learn to stop being so defensive."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" And because I was talking to her and she was like, "Your ego is what's getting in the way. Is that, yes, you're a strong, independent woman. And yes, you come off confident, but you come off so defensive. That's not what shows somebody being strong. What's strong is being comfortable, being vulnerable, and telling somebody how you really feel and not feeling bad about it. Because if the other person doesn't feel that way, that's okay. They'll tell you.
And oh well.
Yeah.
And oh well.
No more time wasted, only honesty. It's like my grandma used to always say, she used to say, it's better to be the best dressed person in the room than the worst. And she would always give me that vibe when I was getting ready. If I was always wondering like, "Oh man, is this too dressy or something like that?" Mm-hmm. That's what she would always say. It's the same thing. It's better to be the person who was clear. It's better to be the person who put themselves out there. It's better to be the person that was unapologetic about something than to be the person that was the opposite. And I'm working on that myself. So damn, good question.
It's a good way to get respect from somebody too. You just come at them clear like that.
And you know what?
I like that.
If you don't get the respect from that though, it means that that's not the right person for you because that person is not mature enough.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're too defensive when we get approached by men?
You 100%. I would say me about 97.8,
I'm
but
pretty
you
defensive.
100%.
It's really strange too, because I am a pretty open person. We just talked about that. I'm pretty open, but there's
on this,
I have
in this way.
in this way, but with you, but with people that I know, with people that are my friends and everything like that. But with guys approaching me, I definitely have a wall up that they can feel. I can tell that.
I literally, without exaggerating, I'm not saying this for the sake of the podcast, I said that exact same sentence to my friend maybe an hour ago.
Stop.
No, I swear.
Dude.
We were having that same exact conversation, and I literally said out loud that same exact sentence where I was like, listen, I'm enthusiastic. I'm outgoing. I'm an open book. I'll tell anybody, anything. But for some reason, when it comes to a guy that I might potentially be interested in or a guy I like, when it somehow involves my heart in any way, shape, or form, I put up the most giant defensive wall, and it's not cute.
Well, because we've probably experienced some hurt.
Yeah, you think?
So that's how you build that wall.
That stuff comes from a lot of different things. So like from
Sure.
your child, that could come from part of you being an only child. For me, like definitely daddy issues. I mean, everybody has their own daddy issues. That's just like a phrase to call it. But my dad passed away when I was in high school, and that absolutely sets the tone for something like that.
Sure. It's trust-based.
Yeah.
It's trust-based for sure. And I've said before, I said this to Michelle once, and I was like, I wish that the guys that I like could see me like how I am just hanging out with you.
That's not fair. Show them that then.
It's kind of, well, I have to see him more than once first.
With a guy, that's the hard part to do that with you though. You know how many plans you cancel? Let's be serious.
Yeah, they cancel too, because it's a flaky world we live in.
I'm so tired of that. That's one of my least favorite qualities in a human being is somebody who's arrogant and somebody who's flaky. I hate it when people think they're better than other people. And I hate it when people can't follow through. I mean, it's truly the worst.
Yeah, and that's really heavy. And actually, this past couple days, remember I was telling you that I was kind of just trying to be better about kind of clearing things out, that I'm like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
So let me just be clear.
Yeah.
And not let it happen.
Yeah, girl.
Because I think it's good for everybody on each end. I mean, there was a guy I saw once, and then he made a couple different plans with me and then canceled on me every single time.
That sucks.
It's not like I was invested, but the point is that we just made some random plans to hang out. Just to hang out.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. But he kept canceling for whatever reason and then saying, like, maybe let's set up something next week.
You're like, or maybe shut up.
And I'm immediately just like,
up.
I just sent a really nice text back because he said he's like been feeling bummed lately and that kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm super sorry to hear that or whatever. I don't think I'm interested in meeting up again at this point.
Damn.
But I really hope that you feel better soon. That's all I sent to him. And he was like, all right. But I was like, that's the kind of clarity.
You go, girl.
That's just the kind of clarity I want to have now. And I don't want to be flaky anymore.
I love this. This is great. Good for you.
Yeah, I don't want to be flaky, and I want to be really clear because I talk about this communication thing all the time, and I want to make sure that I'm upholding my end of the frickin' bargain. Dang, we went off on that question. Yeah. That's a good question.
Moral of the story, practice what you preach and put yourself out there.
Just don't be scared because it's all right.
Yeah.
Yes or no, either way. You're great.
Question number 2.
Question number 2. Which dating app should I use if the whole thing makes me super uncomfortable?
None. Do absolutely none. They're all the worst thing in the world. They're all out to get you. You have nothing but stories for podcasts. Just none. The answer is none. It sucks. It's just so not for me.
So you had a really bad experience that one time. Go listen to other podcasts if you haven't. But otherwise, it's just because it's flaky. Is that what's made you so
I think
negative?
That I'm not going to be... I'm one of those people who's usually like defensive of the whole millennial thing. I don't want to be one of those people who's like jumping on this thing. But when it comes to dating, it's a whole other story. We really are the worst. Our generation is truly the worst to each other in that department. And I think that having an app on your phone or doing the whole online thing really just puts a wall in front of you, between you and that person, that somehow forgives your accountability. And I just don't...
Because when we're not face to face, you don't have to deal with things.
Well, but see, with a friend, it'd be different. When it's somebody you don't even know, not only do you not owe anything to them, you're not taking any sort of risk or chance. And I know, don't get me wrong, I 100% realize that the online dating community is perfect for certain people. When people literally work one of those types of jobs where they're really odd hours or totally overtime because they're at a point in their life where it's just grind, and they just don't have time to go out and meet people. I understand that, man. Or when somebody's just like, I'm sure you might understand this one, when somebody's like really thinks of themselves as an introvert or somebody who, you know, or maybe some guy who's like more like nerdy or girl who's nerdy and into different stuff. And they just really have a hard time physically going out and putting themselves out like that. Online dating makes sense. It works great. Or even like people who have already had their first marriage and they're having trouble with kids and something, getting back out there. There's definitely situations where I think it was for and it's good. But the problem is that everybody's supposed to try it. And there are just, I think, certain people that are not meant to meet and communicate and commiserate like that. I just have not enjoyed any of my experiences, even talking, even just the texting part. And I've always thought this about myself because I'm critical and it probably stems from insecurity. But like part of me has always thought, okay, I'm just not the type of person to online date because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I know that. And I always think that's very realistic to think that way of myself. And what I mean by that is I've got a big personality. We all know that, right?
That goes for anybody, though. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Even though I'm
because I'm a lot, people either love me or hate me, and I'm okay with that. Most of the time people, you know, aren't friendly and open to me, but every once in a while there's just somebody, maybe I don't rub the right way or something like that. I just think that my personality is such a bigger factor that's hard to make it come out online because I'm not good with words. I'm great in person. I love talking, but I'm terrible at the whole writing it down in words thing. So I always think like, this does not set me up for success. That's how I feel. I don't have a good way of getting myself across, and I don't have a good way of feeling like I could have any sort of connection because I don't connect that way. I got to look at your fucking face. I got to look at you in the eyes, and I got to read your body language and hear the way you talk and your mannerisms and catch if you have any confidence in your voice. Do you got that swag? Because half the time that's way more important than the way you look.
I do the same thing, you know? And I'm like, how many guys have I like swiped left on that would have been really good matches for me because, you know, the picture was like, okay, but for some reason it just didn't catch my attention. But that would have been somebody in person that I would have totally vibed with, right? So the thing with
their demeanor.
It's the demeanor is very attractive. Yeah. There's something about the way that certain people carry themselves, or if you're in a room with them and you can, your humor, your bantering goes back and forth.
That's the number one things that attracts me to somebody. So when you just show me pictures, people could be attractive or unattractive, but I genuinely don't know if I'm attracted to them. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. You meet them and it's like, that's what I was saying before we started recording, right? I was like, I know in the first couple minutes.
Yeah.
Whether I'm interested at least, whether I'm at least feeling some sort of like whatever energy spark that I want to know more about this person. And then all of a sudden you have to be there for a couple hours, you know? And I'm sure the guys feel like that on the same end. It's just frustrating. The thing with online dating, it would be more effective if everybody's intentions were in line too.
No kidding.
If your intent is to go on there and just kind of have whatever dates and you're just kind of bored and swiping and then going out on dates, obviously that's going to lead to tons of flaky encounters.
Right. If you're just trying to get it in, get off Bumble.
Okay? Yeah.
And
Bumble's when we're girls are supposed to talk first. It's supposed to be a little bit more empowering for us.
Right. But, too bad it has the opposite effect. I told you about one of the ones, right?
Yeah.
I had to say something first, so I did. And I'm really awkward and I don't know how to do that stuff, even though if you met me in person, I'd have all the confidence in the world. But I was like, hey, I'm Jenna, obviously, LOL. How's it going? And the guy literally responds with like, hey, Jenna, want to have sex?
It's gross.
That's the only thing that I got in response. And I'm just like, is this person serious? What is this person doing here? I mean, even if they said that to every single girl, probability speaking, I want to see some freaking numbers. How many times does this actually work for you? How is it any different between like approaching somebody behind a dumpster and being like, hey, can I get a beach? Like, I don't understand how anybody in their right mind would be like, yeah, maybe one time it'll work.
I don't know. And what scares me is like, has it worked? Because is that why you're doing it? Or are you just
let's not go there.
Have
That's
you
dark.
Just given up? Can I tell you about another guy I said no to this past week?
Yes, but really quickly, questioner number 2. To answer your question, my personal opinion's none.
You said none.
My personal opinion's none. However, I will say Bumble sucks, which means I'm pretty sure that means Tinder sucks even harder, even though I never tried because I was scared. But we're hearing from a couple friends, each of us individually, that Hinge seems to be a little bit more higher quality. So if that's what you're looking for and you just had to go on one, I'd say start there.
I will agree with that statement.
Cool.
Bumble or Hinge.
Okay, go to what were you going to say that one of the worst?
Oh, the guy that I said no to. As far as just people saying things to you where you're like, what in the world's going on? So anyway, there was this guy who he was trying to go on a date with me for like pretty much a year, like off and on, like every couple months. And it would just, the scheduling was really flaky, right? Trying to set something up. And I kind of brushed it off. Finally, I went to meet him for coffee. And when I got there and we were hanging out, he acted really, really dismissive with me. And like he didn't really want to be there. And the way he spoke to me was kind of he was irritated that he was in my presence, kind of a thing.
He sounds great.
It was very strange, right? But he just acted like it was like a bother for him to be there after all of this effort that he put in to see me. And he's finally in front of me, and this is the way he chose to behave, to the point where I even said it. I was going to record a podcast actually right after it. So he said something that was like, so when you're in a podcast and you're having a really hard time having a conversation, like how we are right now, what do you do?
Are you freaking kidding
That's
me?
how he was. That is the
Swift
energy.
kick to the nuts will fix that right there, buddy.
But that's how he was talking to me, which was really offensive.
Oh, my
and I
God.
said, if you're not having a good time or if this is unnecessary, then we can absolutely go. That's what I said. I was like, there's no reason for us to be sitting here right now. And he's like, and he backpedals.
Of course.
No.
That's not what I meant. Don't twist my words.
Yeah. He's like, no. I'm just joking around. I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. And
Really?
I was like,
That's
okay.
interesting.
Finished my coffee. Said goodbye to him. He made some weird freaking joke about maybe we'll see each other again.
Wow.
At the car.
Honestly, delightful.
Yeah, it was really annoying to me because I was like, well, that's a complete waste of my time. You just wanted me to show up so that you could be rude or what? So anyway, I assume I'm never going to talk to this person again. He messages me and he's like, so how'd you think that went?
Oh my
He's
God.
a totally different person.
Guys
right?
are so dense.
But I said to him, I don't think it went very well. It didn't sound like you had a good time. It was uncomfortable. And you weren't being very nice to me, to be honest,
Yeah. And what do you
even
say?
polite. And he was like, oh, that's just how I am. I was just messing with you.
Well, sir, how you are sucks, and we're done here. Thank you.
And I said, I don't appreciate being messed with. I don't appreciate that. It's just my humor. I'm so sorry. Let me, let's hang out again. And I was like, are you planning on doing that again or whatever? So I'm being nice. He's saying, I don't know. I guess I was just uncomfortable. I was messing with you. Maybe my humor came off weird.
Sounds like he's been in a relationship since he was 4 or never met a girl.
So he tried to apologize that way. And then sometimes I'm a little too soft, right? So I'm like, okay, well, we can meet up again. That's fine. I guess I'll figure out a day that'll work. So I finally was like, okay, well, I have this day or whatever. And I was like, well, what would you like to do? And he said, anal? With a smiley face. And I said, ugh, never mind. And he goes, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean to offend you. And
It's
I said,
still not funny.
I'm so completely done and turned off by everything about your essence right now. I was like, I'm not interested anymore.
Oh
at
my
all.
God,
Not
what
even
a piece of work.
That's really weird to me. They're like, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing. It's not.
You don't
we're not
even
there.
know me. Yeah,
We're not there, dude.
You can't mess with me like that.
I don't know you. Anyway,
You're like, really? I'm a man.
So that's the kind of thing that I have to deal with sometimes, and that's why this all becomes a little bit frustrating every now and again.
So stupid.
Becomes frustrating. So anyway, next question. This guy just said, "What should I stop doing?"
Oh my
It's
God.
the most
What are you
general-
doing? What are you doing? If you have to ask that, you know that you're doing something you shouldn't. So whatever that is, stop doing that. Oh my gosh. First of all, congratulations. What an introspective question to take the time to be like, hey, I want to know what I shouldn't be doing. Thank you. But also sounds to me like you already know.
I'm assuming that he's just wondering like what are some general female pet peeves that we're all gonna dislike.
I have one. When a girl texts you and says, what would you like to do? Don't say anal.
One. That's number one. Jesus.
Not unless you're married. That's a pretty ballsy move. That's like a guy.
Oh my God.
It's like a girl getting upset about something and a guy being like, are you on your period? That's what you should do. Oh my God. Sorry.
Blew my eardrums out.
So sorry. I got so really overly excited. If you are still listening to the question that you just asked, sir, please, and I mean, dear God, please, if a girl ever gets upset, do not respond with, are you on your period or something? Literally anything that happens at that point you deserved.
Yeah.
Anything. That is the most
true.
infuriating, condescending, cut you at the knees type of comment that makes me want to lose my frickin' marbles. Grow up. Are you just the worst? Yes, you are. Moving right along. I think those are 2 solid suggestions. Don't respond
Don't do
if you
that.
don't know somebody by saying anal, and don't ever ask a girl if she's on her period if she seems upset. It's quite literally dumb. And I don't mean like, oh, like how your mom taught you it's not polite to ask a lady her age. Let's cut the shit. I'm so serious about this. This is not like a PC thing. This is like a basic human decency thing. Do not do that. All right. I think I made my point clear. I'm really passionate about that one.
I'll just let that one lie right there. Okay. What's the difference between playing hard to get and her not being interested? So now we've gotten to this point of confusion so hard that they don't even know if we're playing hard. What is hard to get mean nowadays? That's the first question.
It's the
Did she
exaggerated
not sleep
version of
with you like the first time you hung out? Is that hard to get? Because
what's your scale?
Because I've met those guys that are like, well, you didn't want to do anything the first time we hung out, so I figured you weren't into it.
I don't think that's called hard to get. I think that's called a guy you shouldn't be hanging out with.
Well, duh. I don't know it till I get there.
I suppose that you are right that like your scale of what hard to get is definitely is subject to opinion. Having said that, though, it's pretty simple. What you do is what you think that you should do. And then if they don't respond in the way that you'd like, move on. And here's the deal. If they were playing hard to get, they'll come back. If they weren't playing hard to get and just being a dick, you dodged a bullet. This is the beautiful thing about like reverse psychology. If somebody's trying to pretend like they don't want your attention and then you don't give them their attention, it makes them nuts and it just reversed them in the thing. So you could try that if you want. Having said that, I'm not giving anybody an excuse to half-ass or act like a jerk. Do what you think is right. And if it was wrong, you'll know.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember, I feel like my dad used to tell me that women should play hard to get. I feel like that's something he told me when I was younger, which I don't think is correct.
So garbage. I think it's like that when you're young, because when you're young and guys' hormones are at their peak, when they're 19
he's
and
trying
they're getting
to keep me away from guys.
I think
was the logic.
I think he's trying to keep you away from like math class boners. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't. What does that mean?
Like, the age that a girl should be playing hard to get is when every guy in your class has a boner and they all they want to do is use it, right? That is a great example of when a girl should play hard to get. When a girl is mature and comfortable and ready to start seriously dating or be a person or involved in what they might call a relationship instead of relationship, then they shouldn't be playing hard to get. They should be
a scary word for people these days.
Relationship, I know.
No. But you know what I mean? Like if people are like, well, what are you looking for out of this? It's like the wanted answer is usually like, oh, I don't know, it's just like someone to hang out with, just real casual, just see where this goes. Just see where this. That is like the answer that everybody seems to want.
Yeah, because it's non-committal. They think they're being easy breezy and casual. What they're really being is scared, and it's obvious, and it shows way more than you think it does.
Yes, it absolutely does. So hard to get thing, that's for people that are not mature. If they're playing hard to get with you. Yes. Because quite frankly, I don't want to play hard to get. Like I want to be clear in kind of normal body language and intent that I'm interested. Yeah. So if somebody's playing hard to get with you, obviously you know that they're not quite as ready to be a grown-up.
Man, I would love to get to like a point somewhere where like somewhat early on you can just be like, hey, I've really enjoyed spending time with you. I think I really like you and I'm excited to see where this is going. Wouldn't it be weird to just like unapologetically just put that out there and like move along with your day? Be like, oh yeah, I'll have a small mocha. Like, be cool.
Because that should be a casual statement. That's not people are scared of their words these days. They're scared that sentence now
scared
has
of what it means.
Locked them into, now they're committed. Now they're on the path to something. Like, no, it's saying that this encounter we had was really cool. Hey, this could be fun. This
Excited
might be a cool
for the
thing.
next one.
I want you to know that I'm into this.
Yes.
Hopefully you're into this. That's very confident, and a lot of people find that attractive. It's very true that women find that attractive when a guy can approach you like that.
100%. That's why swag is so. It's not about a guy playing games or being cool or being like Rico Suave. Swag is when somebody's confident and their mannerisms are attractive because they are just being themselves and they're not afraid of what that means.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It's absolutely what it is. If she's not interested, that should also be. I mean, pay attention. Don't delude yourself into thinking somebody's interested when clearly they're not.
I think the listener, that's going to be one of those things where you get that bullshit answer from your teacher or from your parent or something you never wanted, where they're like, I'll leave that up to your best judgment. But that's what I'm going to say. I'll leave that up to your best judgment because you should know. And if you have that gut feeling, follow it. Don't ever go against it.
We are forgetting to use our intuitions and pay attention to each other. If you pay attention to somebody else, you can really get a good solid idea of what's going on there. And I think people have forgotten to do that, or they don't trust it, or I don't know what it is, but there's so many games being played that we forgot to look at, body language. And does this person respond to me quickly? I respond pretty effectively to people that I'm interested in.
I don't think that it's people are afraid to. It's not they're afraid to notice or afraid to pay attention. I don't
think they're afraid. I think they've just. It's like it's on the back burner somewhere.
I think it's just that people are scared of the judgment. It's not that they don't recognize it. They see those things. They're just afraid that if they do it, that they will be harshly judged, or people are so worried about what other people think. And the thing is that whoever your person is who's out there right now, your person, if they're somewhere and you're going to find that person is never going to think those things, because they're going to be on the same page. And that's somehow, hopefully, what happens. I'm talking like I wrote a book. I'm so single. Is this so? Oh yeah, like let me give you all this advice. Like,
no,
please, I just done a lot of dating.
And so have I.
Over it.
And so have I, and that is why we have thoughts.
That's why we have so many thoughts on it. Yeah, it's definitely not because we have the answers. That's for damn sure. Clearly, it's because we have a lot of experience.
But we can give an idea of kind of where our heads are at, and that probably keeps us single for longer.
Pause break.
I'll do it.
I'm gonna get some wine. That's what she's editing out right now. So if you're listening to this,
nobody's listening to this.
If you're listening to this, you have some sort of superpowers, or maybe you are virtual reality. But
I'll send that piece to you.
Wine Time Live with Courtney Diamond and Jenna Lee Golden this beautiful Tuesday night. I like trying to do my radio voice. That was one criticism I had for myself on my podcast. I'm sounding a little too like surfer manly for my taste. I'd like to be able to sound a little bit more girly.
And that's the amazing thing that you'll notice as you do these things, because like when I do mine, I have to listen to my voice and listen to everything back.
You got a damn Tony Braxton voice.
But nobody likes their own voice.
Right, that's true, and I really don't like mine. But nobody I feel like I default to sounding like slangy and very boyish, and I'd like to find a way to sound like,
because you're being casual, and it's probably, I think you're not fully comfortable because it was your first time doing it. I think when you get comfortable,
guys, she means podcasting. Sorry to say.
Just like, I do not want that to be taken out of context. Because that stuff kind of comes out because it's a little bit of a block and you're just trying to be comfortable. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a little bit of a guard that you probably put up.
Yeah, like a show. Like,
yeah. And when you get comfortable, it'll fall away.
I just don't want to sound manly.
You don't sound manly, but that's your judgment of yourself. Just like how when I listen to myself, I'm super judgmental. Just what we do. I have to get through it every single time.
God, my voice is smooth like silk. It's just so annoying.
But to me, it's not, because I'm me. You know what I mean? Like, it's bizarre.
Yeah, go ahead and continue. Back in and time in.
I should leave some of that in.
Feeling pretty good.
Yes, got fresh wine. Where are we? Where am I in my life?
Question 5. We're on 4 or 5.
Here we go. What things in your experience have made a first date good?
Okay, me or you? Because I got the answer.
I know you're ready with all these. You can go first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, dude, it's a conversation, dude.
I feel like we're at Walgreens and I just cut you in line.
Well, I'm polite. I'd be the one that'd be like, you only have 2 items. Please go.
Hopefully one of them's not Plan B.
What?
Just kidding. I've never bought that. But that would be funny. Wow, that really is polite. Damn.
Thank you. I'm having a hard day.
It out. Oh my God, that was a totally made up scenario. P.S. Okay. Damn, I forgot the questions. Oh, what makes a first date good?
Yeah.
Okay. I will tell you about one of the best first dates that I've ever had.
Hey, we went from the best worst date to the best date.
Let me preface this, and sorry to disappoint, but let me preface this by saying the guy ended up being a total tool. Like, he totally...
Oh, sure. A good date is not actually a...
Right. It's not completely indicative. All. Right. And oh my God. And I actually dated him twice in my life, not just once, but twice. You know the name that I've told you about that I've dated like 4 of them? Mm-hmm. That name.
Okay.
But it was the first one and the third one.
Okay.
But anyway, so regardless of the fact that he ended up being a very self-involved butthole, he really took me on a very thoughtful and very well done first date where I didn't feel like anybody was trying too hard, but it was very clear that he went to the effort and it did not go unnoticed or unappreciated. I was 21 years old, freshly 21, mind you, and I was down in this neck of the woods. I was out on a Friday for a friend's birthday in PB.
That's where we're supposed to be at 21.
Yep. College.
What am I doing here? We don't know. Go ahead.
That's a really good point. So
I live here.
I was out and I meet this guy. Only come to find out later in life, years later, he did not tell me until the second time we dated that it was actually his friend that night that was trying to hit on me. And his friend went to the bathroom and he swooped in. Dang. Yeah. And when his friend came out, he was so mad. So that's so funny. And I always knew his friend and we used to hang out all the time. So that's hilarious. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we ended up just hitting it off. I don't exactly remember how, but we talked about Michael Jackson. We exchanged phone numbers and we ended up like giving each other a kiss at the end of the night. It's not like we were making out like gross in a bar. It was just like we had such a good conversation. He's going to leave and neither of us wanted to leave, but our friends were leaving. And the next thing I know, he just like, reached over and gave me a little peck.
Dude, can I like completely interject right now?
Yeah.
Like, where did that go? Where did like just the one kiss, good night?
Yeah.
There's something about that. And you know why?
So
Because I've
nice.
learned about myself is I enjoy the suspense. I enjoy kind of a little bit of the build.
Yeah,
The
totally.
anticipation.
You're not alone in that. That's not like a novel thought. God, is that a great
I'm
feeling?
not saying it's a new thing. I'm just expressing it.
Sorry, that sounded really mean. I didn't mean it so harshly.
You're always judging me. Anyway. So
Judging you, I love you.
I know. So anyway, but I'm just saying,
Yes.
I've become even more aware that that is something I really enjoy. And that's what's
A
becoming
kiss.
when we first meet.
Yes.
And that's how you as a man choose to leave it without attempting anything else.
Damn.
There's something
Yep.
about that because it creates a little bit of a, ooh, you feel a pull.
It's a
towards
longer.
him.
Yes, a longer. Oh my God, I meant the word linger. But I said longer. Whatever, we get the point. Okay. No,
Why was that so
I have to
funny?
go back to the story though because it's funny that you say that because on our second first date, because I said I dated him twice in my life, like 7 years later, we went on another first date, and at the end of the date, he literally, I walked him to his big ass truck. Woof. That should be a huge woof for everybody listening. And he said, listen, this was really fun.
Tearing up.
Can we do it again? And I was so confident that he meant that and it was really nice. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And all he did was lean over, give me a little kiss on the forehead, and then he left. And I got sucked back in all over again years later, even after he was a D-bag. But anyway, going back to our actual original first date, so just to stay on track. God, we're so bad at this. So
Podcasting is about just talking.
I
It can
know.
derail.
Yeah.
Don't stress about it.
So I give him my number. He texts me the next morning, and that's how you knew it went well. It's not just like, oh, you were drunk and saying nice things to somebody, but
Oh, absolutely.
he texted me the
If I don't
next
get a
morning.
Text the next day.
Done.
I've pretty much said that you're a no.
Yeah. Texts me the next morning and says like, hey, I had a lot of fun meeting you. It was really fun. Can I take you out sometime? And I said, absolutely sure. And he goes, great. When can we plan that? And that's why already it was a good date because
Clear.
not only are you specifically making sure to ask me out on what is undeniably a date, you don't have to say, can I please take you out on a date? But at the same time, when you're like, hey, want to hang out sometime or want to
Yeah.
get together,
We should
that's
like hang or like maybe like next week at some point we could like maybe like watch a movie or just like
to the guy who asked before what he should stop doing. Also, number 3, in addition to the 2 things I felt strongly about, quit it out with the gray area, at least in the beginning. Everybody's got gray area, understand, but don't be wishy-washy. It's so frustrating. So this guy was clear and he was like, hey, I'd love to take you out sometime. When can we plan that? We decided on that weekend. We both looked forward to it so much that week. And he never obsessively talked to me, but he texted me a couple times a day, usually later in the day, that by Friday, he was like, man, I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. I wish we were going out on the date tonight.
it's cute.
And I was like, wow, I don't even know this guy, but that's a nice thing to say without it sounding like creepy.
Because it's like courting. It's a little bit like courting. You're just keeping a little bit of contact. It's still there.
Yes, you're
creating
you're present, but you're not
there's an anticipation.
intrusive.
Yes.
Yes. It was just by courting, if you mean trying, then hell yeah. So anyway, guy calls me day of, and I never really heard from him all the time. So whenever I did hear from him, I always really looked forward to it. It was, like middle of the afternoon. I knew we had a plan to have a date that night, but I heard from him somewhere in the middle of the afternoon. Didn't text me. He called me and answered the phone, and I was like, hello. He was like, hey, how's it going? I was like, hey, good. How are you? And he was like, good. I just want you to know that I made reservations at an Italian restaurant tonight. Is that okay with you?
Ooh.
And I was like, wow, yeah, that sounds great. Thanks so much. And he goes, cool. Wine-wise, red or white? And I went,
Whoa.
red. And he goes, cool. I'll pick you up at 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah. It's like the planning. It's the fact that they're putting a little bit effort. They've planned it. They're taking control a little bit. They're
Right.
in charge of the situation, which makes you feel very kind of taken care of.
Right.
And like they care.
And not like in control of the situation, like, oh, I shaved my
Not
balls.
in a negative
but
way.
control, like, I made a reservation, like,
In a nice
it's the right kind of effort is the point.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was in college and I was 21 years old. This guy was like 6 years older than me, I want to say. He was like probably 27 at the time. And sure as shit, he rolled up to my college house that I lived in with 3 other girls, knocked on the door.
Whoa.
my roommate answer. He introduced himself to each person I lived with and picked me up. And you know what? He wasn't dressed up by any stretch of the mind, but he looked decent. He was wearing a pair of jeans, like semi-decent pair of shoes. I don't want to say sneakers, but they weren't dress shoes, and a casual button-up type of shirt. It wasn't tucked in or anything like that, but like my point was, it looked like he made a point to like look decent but not dress up.
And do you know why? Because we have to make a point to look decent,
right? Because we spent 3 hours in the bathroom with our stupid trying to figure out liquid eyeliner in college, and when you still straighten your hair till it's fried down, it takes time.
I just want, here's another thing for men. Please understand that when a woman is going out on a date with you and we show up and like our makeup's done and we have hair done and we probably tried on a couple different outfits, very possible. That's a very woman thing. But we tried. Maybe we're wearing perfume. I don't know. You know, a good way to start a first date is to start with that little compliment, a polite compliment of, hey, you look really nice tonight.
Yeah.
That gives her a little bit of confidence in the situation too.
Yeah. And makes it like worth it for the effort that she went to because it didn't go unnoticed.
Yes. Because he noticed that I at least tried to do something. And when we see that you guys tried a little bit,
we feel better about validating ourselves. Like it's more like feeling like we didn't overdo it.
There.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, so he picks me up, opens the car door for me, which by the way, it was an old Jeep, and I couldn't have been more stoked because I
love how these stupid little things are so like they have so much of an effect on us.
I know.
It's hilarious.
Isn't it not crazy that I remember this one day from when I was 21? You know how many
basic
freaking
human
dates I've been on?
decency. We're like, oh my God, I love it.
Yes. And I happen to really like Jeeps. So as soon as he like helped me into the car and then he got in the car, I was like, this is not seriously your car right now. And he's like, I know it's old. It's like kind of a piece of crap. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm so into this. It's dumb. And he's like, really? And I'm like, hell yeah. So he drives me to this Italian restaurant, opens the door. We have this reservation. We sit down. It's a house in PB that's been converted into a little family restaurant.
Oh, I love that.
The porch is the outside dining area.
This is my favorite restaurant, Enoteca, Adriano.
Yeah, it's similar. I don't know. I thought it was called Mama something or another.
Oh, it's probably a different place. What I'm saying that's my favorite restaurant is a place that's like that.
It's like literally a house turned into a restaurant.
It looks like a little,
It's so quaint, so cute. And we just sat down and it went well because we had excellent conversation. Like we totally vibed. We talked about animals and nature right off the bat. We talked about how we're both scuba certified and neither of us had any friends to go diving with, and just had excellent conversation. But which you can't beat that. You can't emulate that. You can't tell somebody to have excellent conversation. That's either there or it's not. I'm just telling you the details that made it memorable. Yeah. And then we went back to, he told me at the end of the date very clearly, he was like, I don't want you to get any ideas, but I'm having a really good time. And if we're done here, that's totally fine. But I'd like to keep hanging out with you if that's a possibility. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he goes, would you want to come back to my place and play a game of pool? And I said, sure. And he goes, let's pop by the liquor store on the way home. We'll grab another bottle of wine. And so we did. Went back to his house, met his roommate. We played a game of pool. We totally ended up kissing, which was really nice. And then we ended up like watching a movie, and it was for no other reason. It was kind of clear at that point that the date was over, but I think we were both like just enjoying each other's company, that we wanted it to keep going.
The point of a date.
Totally.
To get to know one another and to enjoy each other's company.
Yes.
And I feel like what dates have become these days, a lot of times, is this thing, like this feeling of expectation throughout the whole thing of like, where's this going? What am I getting out of this? That's how some guys feel. Or they want more, rather than just, I enjoy your presence. And if nothing happens here tonight, we're having a good time, we're hanging out.
Totally. And you know what? And I totally got the vibe where I knew that there was no like pressure, threatening vibes from me going back to his place. I didn't feel that way at all. There was never any advances. Like, yes, we ended up kissing, maybe making out a little bit, but like nothing too much. Whatever. And then we ended up sitting down and watching a movie, and we were up so late that we both ended up falling asleep. And you know what I did? I woke up, I think, as the movie was ending, and I want to say it was some atrocious hour, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I literally was, when I woke up and I realized I was sitting next to him on a couch, I told myself that this was not how I wanted our first date to finish. Mm-hmm. So I woke him up and I said, hey, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but would you mind driving me home? And he didn't even skip a beat. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Because I just didn't want there to be any confusion about me like accidentally spending the night on our first date or something like that. That guy had no problem. He drove me home, dropped me off, called me the next day.
That's beautiful. That's how it should be.
So yeah, do all those things. Just don't end up being a douche at the end of it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Don't always be focused on another person.
Yeah, but that's what it is. I think it's to go into a first date. A date is about getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Don't have a huge bunch of expectation. Show up and look like you cared to be there.
Put a little effort in.
Put a little bit of effort in. Compliment the person that you're hanging out with. That's always just a nice way to start.
And if you're having a nice time, tell them.
Tell them if you're having a nice time. For men, we do notice, it's not like you have to do this all the time, but we do notice if they do go that extra mile with like, oh, I got a reservation. Or
Right.
one nice thing that I've experienced is a guy was like, hey, I don't want to, he goes, I'd like to plan the night out, but I don't want to necessarily pick exactly where you want to eat because I'm not sure what you like. Of these 3 restaurants, which one would you prefer?
Damn.
Next level, right?
That is some...
And he said, which area do you live in? Pick 3 places in my area and just said, which one would you prefer of these? Because I enjoy all
That's
of
a
these
really
3.
nice touch. I had a guy once kind of jokingly make fun of me for it, but then use it in his advantage where he found out that I was a vegetarian and he made it a point to make a reservation at a vegetarian restaurant.
That's
and
nice.
It was silly because I don't like, here's why I appreciate it so much, because I will never bring that up. I'll never say it out loud. I'll never complain about it. You could take me to a steakhouse and I'll still order a meal quietly where I'll just get sides, a salad, I don't know, whatever. I'll find something anywhere, right? It's not that hard to be a vegetarian nowadays, but my point is I'll never bring it up. So knowing that somebody took the time not only to remember that about me, but to like do something about it so that I would never have to bring it up was just like really, it was really nice. I don't ever feel the need to like date another vegetarian. So I'm imagining that this will come up every time. I don't care what the hell you eat. Don't care what I eat. But it was so nice that somebody took the time to like catalog it and be like, oh, I remember this about her. Maybe it'd be nice if I went the extra mile to try to like think of a restaurant that I think she would like. I'm like, damn, that was really cool.
It's just a little thoughtful. It's a little extra touch.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're not committing to anything by simply showing up as your best self.
Right.
Just show up as like you best
What's the
self.
worst that
Be
happens? Somebody
you.
doesn't like you? Cool.
Oh,
Next.
well.
Next.
Next person, dude. Also, first dates, if our humors are clicking, that always stands out to me. If
But,
we're
like,
joking around with each other.
That's not a
and we're
tangible
finding
thing you can
fun.
tell somebody to do, though. If somebody's like wanting to know.
No, but it's the mark of one.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a little bit of a mark of one. I guess what else is there for a first date besides
think
just
a really-
going in to have an enjoyable experience and get to know somebody? Have somebody, when you feel like somebody's talking to you and they're trying to get to know you.
Yes.
And they
Ask
care.
questions. Yes.
They care
yes.
to get to know you. That automatically is going to make both people more open.
Yes.
You know, kind of like when one person opens up, you instinctually kind of open up too.
Yeah.
Because you're meeting them halfway.
And their
somebody
confidence
is,
makes you confident.
somebody's given the permission to talk about like real things or just, you know, to just be themselves. That makes the other person more willing to join you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we answered that one really well.
a good
Whoever
one.
asked that question, A, super good question. B, super good answer. So you're welcome. Moving on.
I love how you know where the cap is. You're like, and next.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy, this is an interesting one. Was very concerned about how PC he was going to sound with this one as well.
Okay.
Why do the Instagram physically beautiful women only reply to certain types of guys? DMs, celebs, athletes, or pretty boy white guys who are all known
I
players?
have to see it written down. I'm having trouble digesting it. Let me see it.
He's basically saying that these women would only respond to some sort of celebrity and not a normal person.
Okay. Well, in the same spirit of afraid of sounding as PC as you were apprehensive about that, to tell you the truth, usually stereotyping, but 9 times out of 10, those Instagram physically beautiful girls, the ones that turn their Instagram page more into like a modeling situation because they think they got it, usually the type of person that spends that much time posting pictures of themselves and the way they look is usually somebody who cares a lot about appearances. And if that's the case, then the DMs, the celebs, the athletes, and the pretty white boys are what they're responding to because that's what they want looks wise. So I think it more just has to do with if they're really more just putting their physical appearance out there, that's what they're looking for too, right?
Yeah.
You know, those people who literally aren't famous, but they're Instagram famous, and they're not Instagram famous for anything along the lines other than like a Kardashian would be famous. It's not for a real reason. It's just because they have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Have you ever been dating a dude where they follow a ton of girls on Instagram that they don't know, and it's just because they're pretty?
You scroll through their Instagram feed and it's just asses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a turnoff, right? When you see that in a guy's feed.
Oh my God. And you know what? It's happened definitely more than once. There's just a certain point, you know, you guys are hanging out on the couch or like whatever, and then you like see it and you're like, oh man, you're that type of person. You don't even know this person, or nor are you ever going to know. You just want to look at the pictures. Get a hobby. Yeah. So
should read a
that's
book.
a short, simple answer, bro. Usually I really think that it's the same way they're putting themselves out. They're only concentrating on the physical parts. I think that's exactly what they're looking for. Shallow meets shallow.
Ooh, It's a math equation that I think is correct.
A plus B equals C.
This is the last question.
Oh, okay.
How important is the dating history of a guy in a girl's decision to pursue him? Do you think about it? And when is it appropriate to even, like, would you ask
when
him
is the
about
real
it?
question? And also, is that a nice way of saying, like, if you know what their number is? Is that what they're really getting at?
Let me read it again to really let it seep into my being. That's just
so
how
intense.
I talk. Sorry.
I know. Existentialist.
I can't help myself. How important is the dating history of a guy?
If you're talking about the kind of guy, like maybe you're like a serial monogamous and you're just a girlfriend guy and you jump from one girlfriend to another girlfriend. If you're the kind of guy that just like fucks a bunch of girls and you don't ever date them. I don't know what you're talking about, but if that's what you're referring to as dating history, it depends on the girl you're trying to date. Is she really different than you? Are you guys on the same page? Is it the kind of girl that cares about something like that? If you don't know, then chances are you probably haven't had that conversation yet about your dating history, or you shouldn't have. So
if a guy tells you that he does just date tons and tons of people and he sleeps with all of them and it's all pretty casual, but that's cool or whatever.
Yeah, probably not.
Do you judge him for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we're trying to gather information about who is this individual that I am considering to date.
Right.
Is that what I'm looking for? The guys that'll say, I don't know, I'm just like kind of scared of commitment, but I keep trying to get out there.
Somehow on their first date, they felt the need to put it out there that like, I'm not looking for anything serious. That right there should be a red flag that they're literally just trying to fuck.
Oh, if they say anything like that, I'm not looking for anything serious. I'm not really looking for a relationship right now. And
then what are you doing here? Why are we on our first date? Yeah.
And believe them. That's the number one thing. Just believe them. People think that people are lying when they say that.
You don't have to be looking to get married and you don't have to be looking to get into a serious relationship, but you're not even willing to put yourself out there if you're going to straight up tell somebody out loud that you're not looking for anything. Then why did you waste my time? Because no matter how you spend it, that seems like a waste of time. Again, even if it's not about a serious relationship or kids and getting married, make somebody feel worthwhile. And if you want to do that, make them feel a little bit special. And you certainly aren't ever going to let anybody feel special if you're just straight up shutting them down right off the gate. If you cut them in the knees before they can even start running, that's your own damn fault.
So that's what I'm saying is like, there's certain things you want to get to know someone a little bit more for before you start sharing, because especially if your dating history is not a current reflection of who you are. How about that? If your dating history is maybe a little, you're worried about telling people about it for whatever reason. I don't know. If you're concerned about telling somebody about it because you feel like that's not the way that you want to live your life anymore, that's not what you're about now.
Right.
Then wait to get to know that person so they can see who you are now.
Yeah. That was good. That was a good way to put that.
And then start sharing.
Yes.
Things like that. Because once you have context, once you're friends, you can say different things because they know who you are. They've spent enough time with you.
That's a really good point.
Do you think it's better to be friends first? That's a question from me.
Yes and no. And I know that's not fair, but yes, when you've had situations like that have worked out, and no, when you want to think that if you're sick, do you ever have this thought where you're like, I'm so single right now, and you start to get
that a lot. Yeah.
you get down on yourself because you start to think like, oh my God, I'm going to be alone forever. Mm-hmm. And then you have this thought where you're like, I don't want to date anybody that I currently know right now. Who, if I've already met the one, I'm screwed, right? Like if you ever have that thought, like
if he met the one, he'd become the one somehow in the process of events.
But when you have that thought where you're like, it's not like I'm trying to date anybody I know, then no, I'd say it's better just to, it really just depends on the situation. There's such thing as like the spark at very first situation. And there's certain things where love grown is love that's better in the long run. I don't know.
So as far as my own experience goes, all of my boyfriends have been friends first.
Huh.
I realized that about myself.
Interesting.
While I was asking myself questions. Because I am a person that requires a certain amount of trust. I like to build a little bit. Like I like to build.
So much sense for you.
Yeah, I like to build a little bit because if I feel like a man shows up and he is only interested in me physically, and he's not really interested in getting to know me that much, and it
totally turns you off,
really shallow, I'm so turned off so quick. I can smell it a mile away. Do you know what I mean?
So podcast listeners out there, if you are trying to date Courtney. Good. Duly note. Hope you're taking notes. Definitely be her friend first.
Just like me as a person, because I want to enjoy spending time with you. If I feel like a guy the only reason why he'd ever spend time with me is because he's hoping something physically happens.
Yes.
But he would never, if he knew that he'd come over and nothing's going to happen, he just wanted to spend time in my presence. That's the kind of person I can open up to.
Yeah.
And if I feel that he's not a person that just wants to hang out with me, then I'm turned off.
And I would say that for like certain personality types, it definitely depends, which is why this question doesn't really have an answer. So yeah, for you, that sounds
just me.
That sounds perfectly right. That sounds right on point.
Yeah.
With me, I almost feel differently because I want to meet somebody and have it be memorable. I want to meet somebody and think that they're different or that they're special. I want to have that like attractive thing. I want to have that new experience. It's different than the other experiences I normally have.
Yeah.
I'm such a social person. I have so many friends. I like it when something catches me off guard or somebody does something different or special or makes me feel like they're unique and worth exploring. You know, when you meet somebody, you're like, I want to know more about that person.
Yes. And I also love that. That would be great too.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if that guy, but still came off to me like, he may be fascinating to me, but he still came off as like he's still just kind of a surface based
dude.
Then that would be hard for me. But I've definitely been intrigued with people like that. And okay, so my longest, I'd say one of the better relationships that I had at a time, that was a guy who, this is a combo, which is beautiful.
That was the story I was just going to tell. I'll tell my quick nutshell after you because that's exactly what I was just going to say. The best one was the nutshell was both.
Exactly. So what happened was the first time I ever met him, I was immediately intrigued by him.
Yep.
Didn't know why. Laid eyes on him. I thought he was cute.
Sure.
He was so funny.
Oh,
and
that's the best.
First, I was just really drawn to him, but we were friends for months and months and months, just close. But I had always been attracted to him. It's not that there was no attraction and then attraction happened eventually. With this particular guy, it was immediate attraction. But he was my friend, and we were just close and we were cool and I felt really comfortable with him and we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just had an explosive moment of like, I guess we're doing this. Like,
hell yeah.
Dude,
I want to be in this story. This is fun.
Stupidest thing in the world. It's like a freaking movie. Okay. He was like about to leave and then we're on the beach. We're still just friends this whole time. Just friends, but with weird tension. Right?
Sure.
We're on the beach.
Love that tension.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he was going to leave. I wasn't going to see him anymore because he didn't live in the state. Anyway, we're just on the beach walking around for the last time we're going to hang out. All of a sudden, I was just like, F it, dude. I was just.
You?
Yeah. I know, me, right?
And then what happened?
I just said, hey, do you want to race? I know it's stupid. But we were on the beach.
Not what I was expecting.
And I was, but this is the beautiful part. It's a stupid movie. It's one of these things that you don't expect to happen. They're beautiful moments of life that we have to cherish.
Oh,
really?
I know.
So,
I'm agreeing.
Anyway, I said, do you want to just race? And he goes, I don't know. I'm going to beat you. And then while he was saying that, I just took off. And I started just running down the beach. We're barefoot in the sand on a beautiful day. And he starts chasing after me, and we're running, we're laughing.
I already know what's going to happen.
And being children. And then finally he catches up to me and he grabs me and we're in the freaking waves and he just kisses me out of nowhere. But that was after like months of like a weird tension and we were attracted, but we were friends with nothing else.
Yeah.
That got to know each other. And then in that moment, he just finally was like, I have to do something. And it's like I let go in that moment and was just being playful.
God.
Yeah.
What is this, a Nicholas Sparks book?
I don't know if I've ever told anybody that.
Well, you know what's cool is that, like, first of all, just like you said, we have to cherish these moments. It's so cool that even though that whatever that was didn't work out. Wow, now you want me 2 glasses of wine? I'm gonna get drunk. Even though it didn't work out, it's so pretty when you're able to like get older and look back on those things, like, you know what, that was nice.
Because with time, even if things don't end up the right way, you look back. Yeah. And you remember but that's why it's important to live in the moment.
Yeah.
Because the moments.
This is really bumming me out.
This is not a bummer. It's beautiful.
I know. That's why it's bumming me out.
Because there will be more moments like that.
Yeah.
But when you're in them, that's when you have to really sit in them and like recognize like I'm in one of those moments right now. This is it.
So my nutshell about the best, whether the friends thing or the attracted thing first, was also a combo story. But here's why I think it works so well. So it was my birthday a couple years ago, and a couple of my friends brought a friend over to go out to my birthday, and they stopped by my place first. And from behind, this guy looked just like my friend's husband, just like him. So, and he's a good friend of mine. We've been friends for like 10 years, and I knew him in college or like whatever. And I thought I saw him from behind, so I rushed over and like went to go jump in the chair that he was sitting in to say hi. And at the last second, while I'm like in air, realized it wasn't him. And I freaked the fuck out. And I was like, oh my God, who's this? And he was like, hey. And I was like, whoa, calm down. Who are you? At the time, I had just started redating the guy from the good first date story I told you about.
Yeah.
So I wasn't interested in anybody at all. Radar completely turned off because I was so excited about dating this guy that I had dated before. I thought it really meant something.
Right.
I thought it was really special.
We do that.
Stupid me. So
No, it's normal.
So my point is my attention was somewhere else. So as soon as this guy like instantly had this like connection attraction vibe where he like was like, hey, and I could tell he like was there. I was like, instantly. Right. And I was like, sorry, who are you?
I'm not interested right now.
And so whatever, the guy was very much in the background, came to my birthday. I thought he was like flirting with my friends the whole time, to be totally honest with you, which I didn't give a shit about. I was more protective of my friends. I didn't think anything of him other than I thought he was loud. I was like, man, this guy really just wants to talk a lot. Like, who is this guy? Who invited this guy? Why is he here? And why does he keep talking to all these people I know? Like, weird. Only like fast forward, how funny would it be? Because if tables were turned, I'd be that person at the party. So I'll just go die about that. But whatever. I was judgmental of it at the time. So that's all I hear of this. I'm like, ugh, who was this guy that showed up to my birthday? Which, by the way, the guy I was seeing at the time didn't. So
That's a red flag, right?
that was the
Can't
first
show
one.
for your B-day.
Yeah, that was the first red flag, dog.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So there's a bucket of excuses though. Anyway, so I leave, don't ever hear anything about it again. And about a month or two later, I get a text message from my friend who was the wife of the couple that I lived with in college. And she goes, hey, what do you think about going on a date with so-and-so? And I was like, immediately, without even thinking, I just responded so quickly. And I was like, ew, no thanks. I'm pretty sure that I weigh more than that person. And also, he seems like he'll hit on anybody with a vagina. That was my exact words. And I was so quick to nip it in the butt. Never heard anything back from it. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, a few months later, this person moves in right behind me, directly in the apartment, directly behind me, just by like serendipitous situation. And I find out the day he's moving in because my friend is over helping him move right next to my house. I'm like, what are you doing? By the way, only come to find out later that he was the one who had asked my friend to reach out to me and ask if I want to go on a date.
My brain immediately went there.
I had no idea. Yeah. I know my friend really well and she loves to get involved in other people's lives. So I totally thought she was just playing matchmaker. I thought in her head it was a good idea and she wanted to see if she could facilitate it, and she tried and I was like, ugh. Right. And she was like, never mind.
Never mind.
So he moves in behind me and then we just naturally started hanging out, but literally just as friends, nothing more. I had no idea he was into me at all. I didn't think that I was into him at all because he's not my type. He's not my type. I knew he had this like definitely draw to him, but I was like, not my type. But then I started hanging out with him so much, and I started to learn more about him. He became like so much more attractive to me. And then all of a sudden he was totally my type because I realized we had the same freaking personality. And who was I sitting there thinking, like, what? Yeah. So we ended up just being friends for like 4 months. And then finally, through the courage of alcohol, one day it just ended up having...
That's the beauty of alcohol in those moments.
It's always how it happens.
Freeing us.
No, actually, not even alcohol. Let's be real. It was mimosas. It's day drinking that gets me every damn time. Nothing has gotten me in more trouble in my life than day drinking.
Beast,
it really is.
I don't know how our bodies know what time it is, but...
And nobody knows how to tackle it. So through mimosas and day drinking, all of a sudden one night we end up like making out. No idea why. And I was like, oh, snap. Didn't see that coming. And as soon as I woke up in the morning and I realized that we had done that, I was like, oh no. And I was like, I'm going to have to answer to my friend. I know she's going to find out about this. She's going to ask me all these questions. Sure enough, within a half an hour, I start getting the text messages. And I was like, no, I didn't mean to do that. But
he told her?
No, we were hanging out with her that day. She saw.
Oh, it's even better.
Yeah, way better. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because I thought it was like a total mistake. And I was like, I should not have done that. I should not have done that. And then
you're naturally go into the worry of like, what does this change? What have I done?
Totally. Especially because he lives directly behind me.
Was that just
right?
random,
And it was really weird because as soon as it happened, I distinctly remember thinking the next day when I thought I was so like anti and I was like, it's not my type, but we'd been friends for a while and kind of hanging out. As soon as it happened, I was like, oh, like what? And then he didn't say anything that morning or even that afternoon, but the next evening he just shot me a text and he was like, hey, so last night was a lot of fun. And I was like, what? And the next thing I know, 24 hours later, we were like dating.
Yeah.
And it just happened so naturally. But the thing was, and the reason that I think it was so successful and the reason I call it like a combo is because I think that he picked up on the fact in the beginning, the attraction thing that we're talking about, that spark, if you will, wasn't there on both ends. So there was absolutely no pressure on his end. It was
There's
never
no
expectation.
expectation.
And he even told me that later. He straight up said to me, he goes, "Oh no, that was me that asked her
Do you know
to
why?
ask you out.
When there's no expectation, you're going to be yourself.
You're totally yourself. And that's the only way you're going to click or not." And he straight up said that later. He was like, yeah, he told me that he was the one who had asked my friend to ask me out. And then, and I said to him out loud, I was like, "That's so weird. I had no idea you were even into me." If I'm being totally honest, I was like, how would I have never known that? You never said anything to me. And, you know, like we would hang out all the time. And he's a very outspoken person who definitely has like the swag and the personality and is very confident. I totally would have thought he would have been the type of guy to say something.
It's so different from when you're interested in somebody or when you go into the romantic realm.
His response was perfect though, because I understood it completely. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, I was, but at the same time, like we were friends and it was fun. And in my brain, you just be the nice guy. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it didn't." And I was like,
that's exactly what the mindset should be.
Yeah.
The framework. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to be myself and be a good self.
Right.
And get to know this person and not have any expectations of them or of this.
Yeah.
And exist in the moment and get to know somebody. And if this happens, it happens naturally. Isn't that what people always say, or who are in good relationships or get married? They're like, it just, just kind of just one day it made sense. Just all came together somehow. It's not that they saw each other and immediately it was perfection.
Yeah.
It's just that whatever it was felt easy.
Yes.
And even if
which I've never really experienced that before.
And even if it's easy, just in the sense of like you were friends and yeah, it was a little weird or whatever, but then it kind of made sense all of a sudden. I think that's what the easy means. There's no forcing.
Yeah.
And you already know who the person is when you're friends. You know who that is. And there's a different respect level there, I think, too.
Woof.
Which kind of very seriously.
Oh my God, you should see my face right
Welcome
now.
to therapy.
With, what are you, Dr. Laura now?
That's what it felt like, right? It's therapy sessions right here.
Yeah, it was good.
Dude, it's good.
Yeah,
we got through all the
that was
questions.
fun.
Thank goodness. Thanks for doing this again.
Yeah, I had a blast.
And I hope you continue to do your podcast on the regular.
Yes, I hope you continue to help me with it.
I'm here for you every step of the way.
Man, I love you.
Hey,
Speaking of love, much love for you.
Awesome. All right. Bye. Thanks, Jenna. That's it for this one, people. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Always feel free to send in your questions if you'd like to be heard on the podcast. And make sure to follow me on socials at Courtney Diamond for updates, and head over to CourtneyDiamond.com to check out the blog and get in touch with me if you're needing some extra help getting your own podcast started. If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe and maybe leave a nice rating or comment on iTunes. I would very much appreciate it. And make sure to check out Jenna's podcast once it gets going. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.